94 WYSP. It is the last days of 94 WYSP. Tomorrow at 3 p.m. There's no more WYSP. I'm Spike and Fox and Leonard on with me, sharing some awesome stories about how, man, I wish I could have done my show in my apartment all this time.
I wish I could have too.
Yeah, I've been doing it wrong this whole time.
I hate to tell you this, but for the last 10 years, I've at Sirius XM satellite radio doing the comedy channel, which is uncensored, by the way. I'm glad you're going to be able to edit out bad language because I'm not used to it. But anyway, for the last 3 years, I've been doing the morning show live from my house. That's where I am now. So it's sort of full circle.
Yeah,
and if I may be so bold, it's on Raw Dog, and I urge everybody to tune it in. It's a great show.
Yeah, it's weird. There's something else I wanted to talk about, but it's weird because I've heard that, and being a radio guy my whole life. What's it like being able to? Because when I hear like obscenity, even on satellite radio, it's weird to me. Like you know what I mean? Like it makes it. I want to hit a dump button, even though I don't have one. Was it different for you adapting to doing it that way?
Well, first of all, I'm not the kind of person that swears a lot at all.
Okay.
And when I came here, that's a very good thing you bring up. I like to touch on it quickly. It has nothing to do with Fox and Leonard or YSP, but I want to tell you real quick. When I came here to run the channel, and my first reaction is everybody was, oh, you can say whatever you want. I found out talking to stand-up comics all my life, and I've had the pleasure in 10 years to talk to everybody, from Cosby to Carlin to Louis Black, you name it, Dane Cook. I found out it isn't the language that's so important about being uncensored. It's the subject matter. You can talk about absolutely anything. You can talk about Obama having a big package. Whatever is funny, whatever you want to say, whatever seriousness you want to do, that's what uncensored radio is really all about. It's not just saying the F word and all that. And comedy is the only form that can do that. You can name news, talk, whatever. Even in HBO, it's in a movie. We were talking to Tommy Tiernan, a very big comedian over in Ireland, came over, was on the show, and he said in Ireland and Europe, comedy clubs and comedy concerts have much bigger crowds now than music, because that's the media. That's what music used to be. It used to have a message, It used to say something. It wasn't just for dancing. So to answer your question, it used to bother me, but now my producer Steve in New York is on with me. My wife Janet, my producer out here. The three of us host the show, and I don't mind saying things anymore because I'm talking to friends.
Wait a minute. I've been talking about the size of Obama's package on the radio for like 3 months now. I've been waiting for somebody to catch up with me.
Yeah, but we don't say package on our show.
Oh, got it. Now, you guys had a TV show back in the day?
Yeah, Bob, tell them about that.
Well, we had a TV, and let me just say my dad was thrilled because he was a TV freak, and to see my name in TV Guide just sort of, I won't say it on the air because this isn't Raw Dog, but it was called Fox and Leonard Go to the Movies, and Sonny was basically, we sort of produced it, but Sonny was the impetus behind it, and he wanted to do a show about movies. And that was one of the reasons we had Mel Brooks in town. We did a show on Mel Brooks films. And we also did a show, if you remember, Sonny, on Ray Harryhausen and special effects.
Oh, yeah.
That was all about that. We had the guy who invented the Darth Vader suit was holding us up by our throats on camera, and then he explained how he did it. But as far as the genesis of the show, I was sort of along for the ride on that one, man, so you might as well hop in here.
Well, it was just, it was clips. In other words, if we did special effects on, it was all behind-the-scenes kind of stuff. The part of the show that I enjoyed the most, I got to design a set. I went out to this, I got this brilliant idea because I had seen Star Wars not that long ago, before that, and I went to these companies that package styrofoam, sheets of styrofoam with certain size holes that hold stereos and stuff. When you package them, you open the box,
Yep.
stereos in this styrofoam. Well, I went and got styrofoam with big round circles, bought about 20 sheets of them, put them together on a scaffolding, and it looked like the inside of a spaceship. It was a lot of fun.
And let me say, I still have a picture of me and Mike Schmidt sitting on the set doing an interview on that particular set with the styrofoam. And it looked really cool. It looked neat.
And they were very nice at WYSP and at the TV station. They made commercials for the show. They ran in theaters in Philadelphia.
That was the one where I spilled coffee in your lap.
Right. It was such an old gag. They run them in theaters between movies. Me and Bob were on the big screen. We were sitting in the control room, and I don't remember the dialogue. And I'd say something about what time is it. He turned his watch for some reason had the face facing down, and he turns his wrist to see what time it is, and the hot coffee goes in my lap. And of course, the payoff is supposed to be my reaction.
Right.
Well, we're on the big screen. We are on TV. It was quite a run, and I really think the success of the show goes to the fact that we were close friends, very very loose, very real, and it was a breath of fresh air from everything else that was on radio, all the rock and all this stuff. It was the beginning of a new format, and luckily, when you're starting something for the first time, you can make up the rules as you go along.
Well, and just the notion of being on TV and radio, like you guys were, I guess radio personalities back then feels like bigger stars back then than they are now. Like you guys, maybe it was because you could show more of yourself and be more creative, but I don't know. It feels like it hit a different kind of like it hit audiences in a different way, in a more meaningful way than it hits today.
I think Sonny put it best when he said that we were friends, and we were about having fun, and it really wasn't about being rock and roll disc jockeys. It was about being entertaining and entertaining each other and trying to crack each other up, and we were just good friends. To this day, now, I hadn't seen Sonny in 30-something years when I moved to Miami and drove through Pensacola and called him. We hadn't even spoken in 30-something years, and we just picked it up where we left off. And to this day, he's one of my dearest friends and always will be.
I always say
I don't like Bob as much.
I always say to people, the first rule is in life in general is to entertain yourself and your friends, and then everything else should follow along. So it sounded like that's what you guys did.
Well, now we're ad-libbing on the air. Matter of fact, on the show yesterday, the Dancing with the Stars lineup came out, and we all chuckled and went, this is the weakest lineup they've ever had. So we said to the people on the phone, hey, call us up and tell us who you think should be on Dancing with the Stars to increase the ratings. And we get calls from all over the country. And it was hilarious. It was like Gary Busey, Stephen Hawking.
Stephen Hawking.
I came up with a line I'd like to share about Dancing with the Stars in this lineup. Something to the effect of Chaz Bono will be dancing with Carson Kressley and Nancy Grace will be judging them.
Well, you know something? We brought that up. We want to know if Chaz, what's his name from Clear Eye? What's the guy's name again?
Palminteri?
No, the guy from Clear Eye for the Straight Guy. You just said his name.
Yeah, Carson Kressley.
Yeah. What is he going to be dancing with, a man or a woman?
I don't know. I think
No, I'm serious because he's openly gay. I think he'd be a great guy.
Dance with a woman.
Well, then, if he's dancing with Chastity Bono, what's he dancing with?
He's not dancing.
Oh, well, then, yeah.
I just did that for the sake of the punchline.
No, I was just trying to think about it then.
Okay, Leo, stop this craziness. We're going to play another song.
What?
Can I pick one more?
Please.
All righty. How about Sultans of Swing, Dire Straits?
Oh, good tune. You got it. WYSP. It's the last days of WYSP Spike with Fox and Leonard. I'm like, this is the coolest thing in the world. Getting to, it sucks I'm not going to have a job in a couple of days, but getting to do an hour on the air with you guys is pretty neat for me.
Oh, get the bicycle out, Spike. Start throwing those papers again.
Yeah.
You got the perfect name for it. Spike's here.
Yeah.
Papers here.
Yeah.
By the way, I apologize for having to do this on the phone, but my private jet's having the engine replaced. Get up there.
And I can't afford to pay attention. I'm stuck here in South Florida.
Well, Bob knows all about George Gump, right?
Yes.
George Gump was a character was on the show with us, and he wasn't the real person like the other, like Jerry Abear or whatnot. George Gump was me with my voice sped up. I know it sounds hokey, but the speed of the voice was not like the Chipmunks, and it wasn't like me. So a lot of people did not know it was me. And the fun part of he was just a pain in the ass. He'd come by and complain and stuff. And but the fun part about it is 'cause I did him on my first job in radio, and I did him for a long time. It was a tape recorder where obviously you record what you're going to say, rewind it. When you play it back, it's a George automatically. I had him design it that way. And so the fun part for me was I didn't record George and then talk to myself and make sure it was safe. I recorded George as Bob could remember, rewound it, hit it live, and had to remember what I'd said.
Which wasn't always working those days.
No, well, there was mistakes, but I was pretty damn good at it. But because it was easy, I think it was easy for me to remember what I said so I could talk to myself because I was the one who said it originally, instead of remembering what somebody else said. But the funniest part was what Bob said when, for instance, he'd go, "What about that bikini contest downtown we're supposed to do downtown?" I said, "What, you planning on going along? Are you kidding? I'm the head of it, whatever." This ego. George's was an eternal optimist. Everything he did was great. Everything screwed up. Everything. Didn't bother him, though. He kept going. But when I would say, I was supposed to say, "Are you going down to be a judge?" And he was supposed to say, "Well, of course I am." I would say, "You going down to be a judge? How much does that cost?" I mean, he'd say that absolutely. And I just get a kick out of it. It didn't bother me at all when I screwed up. And George Gump was, he was set up for the stoners. He was for the cartoon guys. And he was me. I didn't have to take the heat. I was still the cool guy. George was the clown.
That was great stuff.
Well, we're talking about it now because of the situation, but how often, you said you guys are still really close. How often do you even, recently, did you even think about, these times and that show?
I think about them all the time because it was the genesis for my career. I had been kicking around trying to be a disc jockey for about 7, 8, 9 years when I met Sonny, and he basically showed me what it meant to be a personality on the radio, not a DJ. And my career just soared from there. I had an amazing 46-year run, and it all started at WYSP with Fox and Leonard.
Well, thank you. That's very kind of you to say that. But
true.
That anybody in radio can do that. I'll tell you the secret. You don't let people tell you what to do. But there's a catch. You've got to be good enough that if what you do is so good, the ratings are so good, they won't get in your way. Howard Stern's a good example of that. I mean, if you're gonna come through, if you're gonna deliver, if you're gonna do something people really like, why would they ruin it? So it's really up to you to get that freedom. If you're worried about, if you're one of those disc jockeys that does a show and gets off the air and plays your air check for another disc jockey and asks them what they think, you're hopeless. All right? Because you shouldn't care what other people think. The only decisions we make now on Sirius every morning, which is live, coast to coast, is the same basis we used at WYSP. Do I think it's funny? Yes, then I'm going to say it. And all the people that agree with me would laugh. The ones that don't, screw them.
And that's a lesson that I've taught. I've got 5 kids, and I've basically taught them all. If you're going to do something, first of all, it's easier to ask for forgiveness than it is to ask permission, but you better deliver.
Yeah, I mean, and also you got to face the music. Just like a musician, if you're not any good at playing, all the kind words in the world, all the efforts you make are going to make you sound good. And if you're not funny, you're not funny. But if you sit around and try to get in that mood you're in with your buddies or your friends around TV, having a few beers, and you're making each other really crack up, that's where your sense of humor is. Be yourself. It'll work. It really will. Simple as that.
Yeah.
And by the way, you mentioned radio changing earlier Spike. It's changed only in that, and I don't want to sound political, but like I said, back in those days it was first starting out and forming, and there was competition. There was MMR against us. There was whatever against the top 40 station, and now they're all purchased by the same company. Yeah. They all divide the stations into specific demographics. Nobody tries to be number one anymore. That doesn't make any business sense. How can you be number one for 12 to 49? There's number one. If you focus on 12 to 24, you got a sales niche. If you focus 24 to 34, you sell those products. So that's you mentioned you missed the golden age. In that sense, you're absolutely right. There's no point anymore of the old number one radio days. It doesn't exist.
Well, and if one company owns 5 stations, all 5 stations can't be number one. So how can you even make them try to be number one? You know,
right? If you want to sell mini pads or whatever to females or douche, you got a female station. Then, well, I know they buy more than that. Their mothers and their soccer moms and their business professionals.
Lipstick. Right.
Spike, you're funny.
Yeah, I've been told that. They only let me talk for 30 seconds at a clip, though, so this is more fun for me, too.
Badges aren't given. With 21 Philadelphia area locations.
You know, I'm going to go out on a limb here and say we're probably running out of time, so I would like, if we could, maybe Sonny and I both talk about what we've done since YSP and where we're going.
Please do.
Head of it. Take it, son.
Oh, no, you first.
Oh, okay. That's right. You're the older. I'll go first.
Yeah.
You got me by about 6 months. When I left WYSP, I went to, and it was funny how I left. Sonny had already left, and I was doing afternoon drive there.
No, Sonny had been fired.
Sonny had been fired, and I heard nothing about it till I came in the next day and said, "You're doing the show alone. There's no Fox anymore." They tried to get me out of there, and I wouldn't go, and they had no just cause, and so the union said, "You can't fire him." And so they put me on afternoons, and Frank Feller, who was the general manager and a legend in his own right in Philadelphia, called everybody in the office on the staff to look at some slides. And when I stuck my head in, he said, "What are you doing here?" Which sort of gave me the clue that I was next. I went to WLS in Chicago for a couple of years, and then got a call from Robert G. Hall saying, "We're starting a new project called Satellite Music Network. Are you interested in doing the morning show?" They had 2 formats, 2 affiliates. It came out of a little strip mall in Mokina, Illinois, and consequently grew into the ABC radio network. We started that by physically building the studios. I was the first to turn a mic on there in 81, stayed there for 25 years, including the first person in the English language to do a show in the People's Republic of China, which I did for 7 years. And it would talk about interviewing and meeting great people, George Burns, Jimmy Carter, Deepak Chopra, you name it. It was a real trip. It was a great ride. Then they let me go in 2005, and I couldn't get hired as a disc jockey, nor did I want to. And I became a news anchor, went to WBAP in Dallas based on a smooth jazz air check. They gave me a chance. Became their afternoon news anchor up until last week. For 2 years, I was a news anchor on the Metro networks out of Miami for all of Florida. And last week I retired from radio after 46 years, and I'm thrilled to be out of it now.
A lot of golf in your future.
A lot of it. So you better hurry down here so we can play on the course we played at 30 years ago here.
I'm a little envious of that ending, but I'm not quite ready to do that yet.
Well, tell us about you.
Yeah, go.
I got canned at YSP because of my wild ways, and the straw that broke the camel's back was we went out to the Billboard Awards or whatever, and John Belushi and Dan Aykroyd had the room next to me. And to make a long story short, we partied a lot, and I decided I didn't want to come back that week. I wanted to stay out and party some more. So I had nothing to come back to. My fault. So I decided that after all this business of wanting to be the program director, which, your ego is served, and I got to do whatever I wanted to, and I just got tired of still having a boss. That was I may have been an entertainer, but management still called the shots. I was the program director. I had to go to meetings. I said, screw this. John Tenaglia, who is infamous in this business, had just purchased WSHE, which is a famous rock station down in Fort Lauderdale, Miami. And he knew he liked me. He said, come on down and do mornings. And I went down there for $500 a week. And I remember having to take my pennies down at the bank to get cash for Burger King because I refused to pay for my food with change. And it was tough for a while, but I believed in myself, and WSHE became extremely popular. And sure enough, I promised not to be the PD, but after I saw the guy who was running the place, I ended up as the program director. And we did album rock at that station. And then right then the 80s hit, and MTV and everything else. The guy that was doing the mornings on Y100, the huge top 40 station, left. I went over there. with the morning show. Then I went to the oldie station with the morning show, and then the country station with the morning show over 22 years. When the point I'd like to make is what we talked about earlier. If you're a personality and people like to listen to you, don't pigeonhole yourself. You don't have to be a country DJ or an oldies DJ. That's just the music you play. And so we had a wonderful 22 years there, and then I got fired again. And I got a little like Bob. I started getting sick of radio too, and I started the MP3 Comedy Network, which was my last partner, Ron Hersey, who was my partner down there, Fox and Hersey, for 20 years. And I produced comedy, and we sent it out over MP3 files to control rooms, which had never been done before. It was 90-something. And so I was doing that in my house down in Miami. Now, here's the end of the story. Lee Abrams, 30 years earlier, who had called me and told me, my name's Lee Abrams, FM is what's going to be happening, AM is history. And FM at that time, before WYSP, was just dentist office music. He says, believe me, it's FM, we're going to do it. So I traveled across the country in my Volkswagen bus. We hooked up and we started Album Rock Radio in New Orleans. 30 years later, I get a phone call, unemployed, sitting in Florida. Lee Abrams, like Bob said about him and I, although we don't see each other all the time, it doesn't matter. It's like you never left the room. He goes, FM's dead. the same message 30 years later. He goes, XM is what's happening. I said, what's that? So I came up in 2001. We ran the comedy channels, and then when they merged with Sirius 3 years ago, I'll be very honest with you, I was not a fan of the way Sirius does radio. XM was a very, very, very special place. Very meticulous, very conceptual, and I didn't like it, so I was going to quit and retire. They came to me and they said, Sonny, there's Mel Carmazon, who runs everything, is a big fan of mine down in Miami. He tried to hire me once, actually, and he said, we want you to stay and do a live show on the Comedy Channel. And I said, what? What are you talking about? He goes, no, why don't you do a morning show just like you used to, but instead of playing records, you play stand-up comics. Back to WYSP.
WYSP in Philadelphia still, to me, is the greatest time I ever had in radio. WYSP will always be the station that jump-started an incredible life and career for me. An amazing life.
I'll agree there.
If you guys could use one specific song to the official Fox and Leonard sign-off of WYSP, what is that song?
How about something symbolic, too? Go Your Own Way by Fleetwood Mac.
There you go.